Hello and welcome back to Sally.exe Whisper of Soul, which can also be known as Sonic.exe Spirits of Hell Round 2. Now, in this video, it is going to be the Tails and Sally duo. Little side note here, I proceeded to immediately forget and going for the Amy-Sally route again. Which is why there's gonna be a little jump in between when I show Cream dying and when it cuts back, if I remember to actually cut off the latter half so it actually keeps the Cream death in. Either way, it's just gonna jump straight to me running Sally to her death. And then straight into the Tails Volcano Valley. Now, this is the only ending that could be considered easier than going Cream on the Amy Cream duo. Because the only way you can fail this route is to not get on the route in the first place. The only way you fail is by losing either Amy or Tails before you can get to the duo. Literally as soon as you have gotten the duo together and proceeded, you've already beaten the ending. That's how easy it is. It requires the least effort. I mean, at the very least, it means that once you get through both of the volcano valleys, you only have to worry about watching a couple of scenes go by. But sometimes I like a little challenge. Just ignore like a huge part of what I was saying in the last video. But anyhow, because I've already shown most of this dialogue, I have skipped through it, as well as I need to get better at my button presses. Now, unfortunately, I do die the first few times. This first time, I don't even fully comprehend why. Like, I'm thoroughly certain that I should have landed on top of that, but I assumed some strange interaction between the speed I was going. The corner of the platform had something to do with that. But anyhow, I'm just trying to speed through it. And now on the second jump, I jumped too early because I reacted too quickly. Because, you know, the warnings aren't consistent. And what I mean by that is that the warnings aren't given within the instant you need to react to them. They're given at most a second or two if you're moving at the normal speed of the log. Unless it's that one. Which I actually managed to keep up a pretty good pace, but because I lost the log, Sonic kept his speed as if I was still on the log. Because the only time you're actually supposed to lose it is at the very end, where he actually slows down a lot. Now, this is the successful one. Now there's slight improvements I can do throughout this section in order to move faster, but it's moving fairly quickly, and any other minor adjustments wouldn't be worth the risk of missing a spring. Which doesn't sound that bad until you realize a single death could cost me like an additional 30 seconds, and I'd much rather avoid that, even though I'm not currently speedrunning. Anyhow, here's the cream battle, since I did forget, in fact, to preserve that part of the recording when I was cutting. But anyhow, I guess, at the very least, that part's slightly faster. Now, cream is most definitely the easier of the two battles. Probably because the difficult battle you're supposed to have with her is when you're going for Robotnik. No, there is no Robotnik-Amy duo. So there is really no point to go versus Cream on Eggman. Overall, it's just a very difficult battle when you don't know what you're doing. For example, like me. I had only just attempted it for my first time while recording a video for the Robotnik solo. Now, luckily, because the cream battle is much easier on the ground than in the air, Tails and Knuckles just absolutely obliterate her. Also, if you haven't seen any of the previous Knuckles fights yet, which I know there's at least one of, versus Cream, the glide is overpowered. There is no other way of saying that. It is just overpowered. Because it hits so consistently, so quickly. It just instantly clears phases, pretty much. Not to mention, if you can time it properly, you could probably even finish off the fight within a single loop, rather than having to do what I normally do and jump back and forth on it. Now, unfortunately, I do kind of screw up the Sally jump here, which really allows you to use your boost speed in order to sort of get around having to do a double take on it. But everywhere else I act pretty quickly, including during the swap to the fire in order to get a good land speed. And then, all it comes down to is dying to Acceler. No, I'm kinda glad, and kinda sad at the same time, that this is not a Sally route, because while I completed the route on the first try for the survival route, I mean, it's still a pain in the butt. So, completing it just to not be able to use it is kinda painful. Well, I guess I could use it, it would just be out of place. And also extend the time by like 5 minutes. But anyhow, it's time to move on to Tails Volcano Valley. Which, in case you don't know how that goes, it's actually fairly simple once you get the hang of it. I know. Shocker. And probably it won't be the last time that I actually have to say that. Overall, Tails' Volcano Valley includes a lot of flying. Again, shocker. Who would believe the flying character with the droppable projectile would have to fly and drop projectiles? Now, I do show the text for Tails going to Volcano Valley a bit, because I don't remember if I actually showed it. If I did, well, it's not gonna hurt anyone to see it again, and worst case, people just skip through, like, what is this? A minute of text? Anyhow, I guess it's time to actually worry about the Volcano Valley itself. Tails' Volcano Valley starts with you immediately running forward and falling into a pit. Now, I spin dash because I like going fast and I need to practice going fast. Now, unfortunately, I missed way too many rings. That felt way longer than it actually was. That felt like I was almost out of fly time, when really I wasn't. And unfortunately, I screw up the timing on that orb a couple of times. I probably could have actually gotten it there. I kind of just switched to full orb to try and get it, but ultimately I go to an easier spot, which takes me slightly farther away from the rock. By the way, this is just by spamming the C key. Because, again, both X and C act as an alternate button in order to trigger the glide. Which is why they can be used to activate the super glide. The reason I'm calling it glide is because I feel like it. I understand it's flying. I just don't really feel a need to say fly. Also, I get so lucky with the timing. I just barely missed the first one, and then I'm stuck on a rod for a few seconds and still don't get hit. Now, because I've gotten more familiar with Tails' Volcano Valley, I'm much more comfortable spin dashing and gliding into it. Despite that usually being a terrible idea. Despite how bad that looks, you actually have just enough recovery. After the next bolt, jump into the corner. And usually you'd use those springs, but I just choose to spin dash. I jump off and start gliding in order to slow my momentum so I can better get around the wall before it springs me back up. And here we come to the lava part. Arguably the easiest one at that. Not only does Tails' Volcano lava chase have the least obstacles in your way once you know how to super glide, but even if you do get touched by the lava, unlike in the Amy and Cream versions, you do not instantly die, you just take a hit and lose some rings. Which you can recollect in order to infinitely survive, so if you can watch above you, you could probably survive the entire time on the lava. I'm not saying that's the best option, since if you aren't fast enough during the last section, you will get crushed by the ceiling. But it's a possibility. I also learned that there's technically a false duo ending for Cream and Robotnik, as well as a true duo ending, depending on how you survive with Cream. Now, because I suck with Cream ending, I will not go for that when I do go to Cream and Robotnik duo. Because, again, like the other false duo, it requires beating both of the characters' solos individually before you can even see any difference in the actual end scene. Which, in case you, for some reason, have forgotten what Cream's solo is, it's basically a gauntlet. And while if I could manage to complete it, I would instantly have an extra life after the Robotnik. Doing both of them would be rather troublesome. Just alone, not even, like, together or anything. Even with an easy access way of doing it, which would be to choose the Eggman, which would automatically have Eggman survive, and I believe have Amy die. If not, then, well, that way's not possible. And the other way would be to go straight to Cream Volcano Valley, that I'm fairly certain that just straight up kills off all three of the boys. Because you're intended to make a choice, and because they can't just give you a random boy in hopes that it's the correct one, they'll just kill them all three. Now I get rather lucky with the cycles here. So I can easily move on to the Amy Lava section, which I have actually learned the routing for. Unfortunately, I did not get the same jump that I wanted out of that, so I did have to slow down a bit, but I got a rather good breaking of the wall. I got stuck from momentum on my... what is Amy's running thing called? Because it's not quite a spin dash. Either way, I'll at least call it the dash. Either way, Amy's dash, whenever it's charged, which you have to be standing completely still and holding down before mashing the jump button, which is how you do any normal spin dash, or unless you're Eggman, regular dash. And unfortunately, because Amy is usually moving at quick speeds, it's kind of difficult to stop on a dime, as you'd imagine. The only way to incredibly slow down your momentum without impacting anything is literally to use your hammer. Which, because I don't want to slow down, I don't use. Also, I have already completed the route. The remaining portion of this video is just the cutscene. That's it. All that's here is the game showing you the ending. The remaining stuff is just text boxes. So, I guess if you made it to this part of the video, and you enjoyed the gameplay that there was, go ahead and like it. If you enjoy most of the content on the channel, it would probably be worth subscribing, as it will make it more likely that it gets recommended to you whenever I do make a new video. Because, well, not every time I upload will it be the same type of content you may be interested in specifically, it could always get you to interact with a game that you don't usually see. And even if you don't do that much, at least subscribing helps me get to other people who might enjoy some of my other types of content. And last but not least, everyone should have a good day. And now I'm gonna make my commentary on the actual ending here. Overall, as I said in the very beginning, this is the easiest, absolute easiest of the endings. Because once you've completed both Amy's and Tails' Volcano Valleys, you have nothing left you need to do. As you've seen, I've had no new gameplay, it's just been the story. And while this is very important for world building and basically pounding in the point that you need to get everyone to the end, which, by the way, because I already have all the endings, I can't show you guys this now, but if you go for the best ending and you do not have all the endings, Exceller will interrupt you and tell you you need to get all 20 of the other endings before you go for it. I don't remember the exact wording, I just know that's the basis of the statement. Overall, this is a very saddening moment for most people because, again, you're supposed to be pretty well attached to these characters, whether or not it's because you played the games in your childhood or because you bonded with these specific versions of the characters throughout their character development, whether or not you played the first game. You've at least witnessed part of their lives. And you worked pretty hard in order to get them both to survive, so that's also a factor. Now, the memory fragment here is one of the more boring ones, I'll say. Not because of the lack of action, it's just more bland of the memory fragments. Like, there's usually more than just talking about what could happen in most of the other fragments. Overall, it's not a terrible memory fragment, but it's not one of my favorites. And we quickly approach the end. I guess I'll say a couple more things. As you probably noticed by now, I'm following the order of which the stars are listed in the start menu for each of the individual enemies. Now, the reason I restarted the game that quickly, and that is without cuts by the way, that is just by pressing F2 at any point in the game, that takes you immediately back to the main screen, is because I didn't want to leave you guys off on a black screen. Well, goodbye.